My name is Dr. Caroline Hand, and I am the Interim Director of Concert Bands. Today you're going to hear about my dilemma in conducting and preparing to rehearse Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, the finale. And I'm also going to get hooked up here to the screen so that I can tell you more about it. There we go. Okay, so what does a '94 Ford Ranger have to do with programming? Hang on a second and I'll tell you. Programming is arguably the #1 most difficult part of a conductor's job, and it is something that will never get easier in our careers. I juggle thousands of variables as I'm programming, and for all our music ed folks, you're going to do this too. What will the students like? What rep do the students need to learn? Is it too challenging or too boring? What will the audience think of this? Do we have guest artists, composers, conductors, etc. collaborating with us? How much rehearsal time do we have? Is there a theme? Do I have the best kazoo player that I've ever heard in my whole life and they need to be featured? And the list goes on. What you didn't hear me say is, what do I want to program? And here is where my 20-year-old Ford Ranger driving self comes in. My mind was being blown open at the time by my music studies, and my truck was overflowing with CDs that I would rotate through, particularly my newfound favorites from the classical orchestral repertoire. Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, and in particular the finale, found a frequent home in my CD player. I'd have the windows rolled down, like the old school roll down kind. Finale cranked as loud as I could get it, bopping home for 2 hours to Tahlequah, Oklahoma, down a bunch of country roads. And I'm sure people thought that I was nuts. So I'm sorry to admit to my colleagues and my students who are here in the audience that I selected this piece for our first concert cycle for very selfish and nostalgic reasons. It's not usually my MO. So fast forward to today, I check in our library and we have an arrangement. I excitedly pull out the score, I do my initial score orientation process, I get out my metronome and I start singing through the piece. But I am instantly befuddled. Why does the beginning feel way too slow? Oh yeah, the theme that's at the beginning comes back later at a faster tempo. So I must have internalized that part of the music from my Ford Ranger. So I keep going. The tempos are not making sense. For instance, rehearsal letter A is marked at quarter note equals 126. And then very randomly, a few bars later, it's marked quarter equals 108. I get frustrated. I almost give up, but I'm competitive, so I didn't. So this is a common issue in band transcriptions, and if you ever do a band transcription, you always need to compare it to the original. So I go to the library, the music library, and check out the original score and start comparing the band transcription by Charles Ryder to Shostakovich's original score. And there were all kinds of discrepancies. And you can see here where I started to notate in my score where it was different from the original. So where it says score, that's what the orchestral version said. So my version said 104 for the beginning. The orchestra was way, way, way slower at quarter note equals 88. Here at A, where I just mentioned earlier, 126, orchestra 104. 120 score, it's the same. Yay, a place that was finally the same. Here in my score, it's marked half equals 88. There is absolutely nothing marked in the orchestra version here. There was a range marked in the orchestra version at this point. And what in the world is actually happening? 152, the orchestra version is marked quarter equals 188. Okay, so it was time to check out some recordings. So the first one that I found that I really liked was this version by the London Symphony Orchestra with Maxim Shostakovich conducting. I actually don't know if he's a relation to Shostakovich. Somebody needs to look it up and tell me. So I'll play the opening here of the London Symphony version. So the opening was quarter equals 120, way faster than the band version and way, way faster than the orchestra version. And after the cello rondo, it was quarter equals 132, which again is still higher than the orchestral version. So let's take a listen to the D major coda at the end of the piece in the London Symphony version. That's quarter note equals 100, and remember in the orchestra it was quarter note equals 188. What? Okay, so let's check out New York Philharmonic with Leonard Bernstein conducting. Okay, even faster than London Symphony. Started out at quarter equals 126, after the cello rondo, quarter equals 144. So let's see what they do at the end, the New York Phil, the D major coda. Okay, great. So that one is actually quarter equals 188. I give up. Someone tell me what to do. I head down to the music library. I don't want to decide. Just it's got to be written down somewhere. And I find a book that was written in 2024 on Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, and I check it out because there is a chapter entitled "The Faulty Metronome," which is about the tempo discrepancies in the work. Like, yes, somebody's going to tell me what to do. It didn't help at all. So actually it did, but I had to use my own brain and intuition after being presented their research. Forget it, I do what I want. So I throw up my hands and I use my gathered information to start making some decisions. So first of all, it is purported that Shostakovich once said to a conductor that his, meaning Shostakovich's, metronome was broken, that the mechanical device should not hold sway over whatever emotional intent needed to be delivered by the music. There's also evidence from the Walker text that I just showed you that Shostakovich praised both the premiere performance of the work conducted by Mravinsky and Bernstein's later and much, much faster performance of the piece. He also wrote to a conductor that was preparing the work that he liked Bernstein's tempos. However, Mravinsky recorded the work with Shostakovich present, and in an attempt to get him to nail down some tempos, he played portions of the piece ridiculously off the marked tempo, yet Shostakovich would give no comment about the tempo during those instances. There are also known errors in the score. Shostakovich inadvertently marked the coda at quarter equals 188. What he meant to do is mark it at eighth note equals 188. Big difference. And then a scholar, thinking they were doing something wonderful, and did a favor to everybody by reverting to the original marking in a later published critical edition. So she uncorrected the error. So there are so many issues going back and forth with the coda at the end. So the unifying factor in all of my research was that any chosen tempo was executed with conviction and passion. So my conclusion was, this is what Shostakovich wanted, and the OU Wind Symphony will play with conviction and passion whatever the tempos are, which took me an entire month to decide what to do. Okay, I want to take a little side jaunt here into some new findings about the symphony that I think are pretty interesting. I want you to listen to the chorus that's singing behind the soloist in this piece. If you're in the Wind Symphony, don't give it away. Okay, what is this opera? Carmen, very good. Okay, Shostakovich had an affair with a woman named Elena Konstantinovskaya. They ended the affair many years prior, but at the time Shostakovich was writing the Fifth Symphony, she married a man with the last name Carmen. Scholars have begun to point to some very convincing connections to this opera in the symphony, one of which is the opening theme and the finale directly related to the chorus line that you just heard, "Be on your guard," from the Habanera. Additionally, Shostakovich was known for inserting his musical signature, seen here, into his pieces. In the symphony, we also find what could be the musical signature for Elena, whose nickname was Lala. So A equals La, C equals Carmen. To close the finale, Shostakovich wrote 168 pairs of A's, or Lalas. So keeping with the theme of ambiguity, what we have no way of knowing is whether these references are some passionate outpouring to Lala or a final good riddance. You may have hoped in this lecture that I'd reveal my interpretations about the Fifth Symphony, but I don't wish to reveal them, just as I believe Shostakovich did not want to reveal the complex layers of meaning in the piece. But I'll leave you with part of the introduction that I gave to the audience, which is the interpretations of Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony are numerous, and there is much uncertainty about the message it conveys. But one thing is certain, that even under limitation, Shostakovich produced a work in his own passionate voice that continues to move people to this day. If you didn't get a chance to hear us at our concert, I hope you'll take a listen to this performance by the OU Wind Symphony, and thank you so much for your attention this evening.
So before I play this piece, I just wanted to explain it just really fast. I know it was the last piece and you want to go home, I swear. I'll be quick. For my dissertation in 2016, it was an annotated bibliography of trombone and percussion duets. It was a really long project to learn that that's a terrible combination of instruments. But as a part of that dissertation, I commissioned a dear friend of mine, Blake Tyson, who was the percussion professor at the University of Central Arkansas, to write this piece. This piece is called Ursa Concilium, which loosely translates to Purple Bear, which is the mascot for UCA. And the first phrase you hear from me is the musical translation of UCA Bears. So what he did, I'm just going to read it, because he's smarter than me. But using the German words for the first and last letters, Italian for the second to last letter, and English for the remaining letters, UCA Bears becomes Ut, C-A-B-E-A, Ray, and S. And so you'll hear that melody as soon as I play it. Now, also related to this, he's in the process of writing another piece where I'm hoping he spells out Boomer sooner. We'll see.